Have you been looking to get into direct-to-film printers, maybe at home, or maybe to start a small business, or just for crafting in general? Then when you get to shopping, the price is a major turnoff because you realize, well, they're really expensive, and you may not want to spend that type of money into something that you don't know will succeed or not, or if you're going to still have a vested interest in. When it comes to DTF printers, your options are limited for below $2,000. What happens if I would say that you could have a whole kit? That's including the printer and the heat oven for under $2,000. Well, let's stay tuned and let's go over some of the specs of this new Procolored K8 printer. This is the new Procolored K8. It is a direct-to-film DTF printer. It has a print width of 8 inches, 2880 DPI for different fabric types. It has effortless ink loading, no more using like syringes to suck the ink through. It has an ink recovery system, so when the nozzles get cleaned, it flushes right into a holding tank. It has white ink circulation. It runs every 2 hours. It has smart detection for reliable printing. It also has auto head cleaning that operates every 10 hours automatically. It can also print a full-size A4 print from 3 to 7 minutes. Also has refillable DTF ink tanks. And of course, links to purchase will be down in the description. As you noticed during the unpacking or unboxing or uncrating, everything was just packed very, very well. And your top layer, you're greeted with this really nice layout of step-by-step instructions on how to assemble the printer. As we remove the top layer, you'll see the printer. And then we have some boxes. We have the software installation box, then we have the tool cleaning box, the spare tool box, and the film roll. So we definitely have a lot of things to get you going right off the bat. Since we're in the garage, I'm going to use this crate as a table to assemble the printer. I'm going to remove these 4 screws. Now, don't throw them away because we're going to reuse them. We're going to attach the spool holder, outriggers, I don't know, something like that, to the back and make sure they're nice and snug. And now we're going to get the rod. Then you're going to also prepare these film roll end caps. They're going to mount on both sides. And of course, you're going to use your supplied Phillips head screwdriver. You're going to loosen the Phillips head screws, and then you're going to take these end caps and you're going to squeeze them inside the film spool. Tighten the Phillips screws, and then right now we're just going to place it on there. Now we're going to mount the front tray. We're going to remove these 2 screws in the front, and we're going to repurpose them by putting this front tray on. Underneath, you will see the 2 screw holes, and you can just go ahead and send the 2 screws right through. Make sure everything's nice and secure. Now we're going to grab our cleaning toolbox. There's actually plenty of things in here, from syringes to cotton swabs. But we're looking what's for underneath. Those are the funnels, because we're going to fill up our DTF ink, and that is supplied also with the kit. You'll notice on the side you have level indicators for how much ink is in your tanks. And they look kind of cool because they look like batteries. You'll notice this large yellow ribbon. We're not going to remove that just yet, but we will, because we're going to fill up our ink. And each of your inks you're going to want to shake for like 10-15 seconds each before filling up. Of course, it's pretty simple. You have this little pull tab, and don't lose those. Make sure that you also put them in a place where they're not going to fall. And we're going to poke the foil top, and we're just going to fill up our tanks, each of them. And I'm going to fill them up to just about to 3/4 of the way up for each of them. And just want to make sure that everything's nice and clean before you put your caps back on. The white was a little difficult because it's all the way in the back. I did wipe the tops before I put them on, and the hinge you lift up because there's a lock to close the lid. The ink is ink, so you may want to make sure that you have a tray underneath your printer or something to catch any ink, and these funnels can be easily washed with soap and water. Here you can see the windows where the ink levels are nice and full, and now we're going to just plug in our USB and our power, and then we're going to move the printer down to the office. Before we power on the printer, we're going to remove this screw and this sticker here, and then we're going to go ahead and plug it in and turn it on. The printer will do some self-tests and you'll see the carriage move around a little bit. That is absolutely normal. Now let's go to the film roll on the back. You're going to want to make sure the film is going over the top, not underneath. And the film roll needs to go almost all the way to the right. Notice that mine's centered and that is not correct. Later on I did fix this. As you notice, it's still pretty centered and not as close as it needs to be on the right hand side. And we are just going to go ahead and feed this film roll through all the feeding systems. Now we're going to hold on the automatic ink extraction button for about 10 seconds. You'll know it's ready is when the light starts to blink, and then you can release the button. Then you'll notice that the tubes start filling up one by one, and it will start filling up the cartridges. Before, you would have to take these cartridges out and use a syringe to pull each ink individually. Now this is all automated. This is such a nice upgraded feature to have. The printer will go through some checks and some cleaning, which is absolutely normal. And then we are going to release our hinge here. Again, you just lift it up because it locks in place, and go ahead and close the lid. You're provided with this little manual, a dongle, which is actually your key for your software, and another USB drive that gives you instructions on how to do all of this. Gives you some very helpful tutorials like installing software, step-by-step instructions, and this is also where you're going to install your software. First, we're going to start with the Epson print utility here, and we're going to just basically click through next. This is actually the driver for the printer. And then we're going to hit OK once it's finished. Next, we're going to install the ProRip software. That's just as easy, just a few more clicks. So we're going to click on Next, and then default location. It's going to go ahead and extract and install the files in its proper directories. This does take a few seconds. Now, with Microsoft Visual C++, you may need to run a repair or an install. Since I already had it, it's going to do a repair. And then we're going to just hit the agreement and hit install, and that's about it. Then go ahead and hit close and hit OK. I'm not going to run it just yet, so I'm going to just uncheck that box, and I'm going to hit finish. It's that easy. First thing is we need to set our default printer. So we're going to click on the little printer icon in the top menu bar, and then we're going to select the A4 DTF. And then we're going to set that as our primary printer, so default. And then we're going to hit OK. Now we're going to go under our printer properties and do a maintenance. Most likely you will have to clean the nozzle a few times, and this is absolutely normal because we need to flush all the ink through and make sure all the nozzles are nice and clean before we print. You don't want to start a print job and then see that everything just looks like garbage, do you? So go ahead and get that done. Now it's time to fill some orders. I have a friend that's pivoting from a 3D printing channel to a dumpster diving channel. So let's go ahead and import his picture, his new logo. In the lower left, I'm going to maximize the width to 8 inches and then hit enter. And you notice that the background is transparent. And a lot of people like that versus having like a default white background or something, especially for going on a t-shirt. You'll notice once I hit rip, it flips the image automatically, so you don't have to worry about mirroring your image. But before I hit print, I want to advance the film roll. Now there's two things here. First, you'll notice that my film is off on the top, which I'm going to fix a little bit later here. But what's important here is you'll see all the smudging and stuff that's on my film. And I want to make sure that that is gone because I want to make sure that I am printing on a nice clean surface. Now you notice that my film is all the way to the right here, and this full image took about 6 minutes to print. It will consume a lot more whites because the white is always on the back of the image. Now I'm going to advance the film out just past my cutter here. That way I can trim it without wasting too much of the film. Now let's take a look at the results. Yep, came out really good. If you flip it over here, you'll see it's Sam's Whiffy Waste. Yep, I hope this pivot works there, Sam. So enjoy the new channel. But this is all wet on the back, so you do not want to touch this. We're going to have to put some DTF powder on it and bake it. And the settings for the temp is right here on the bag. So we're going to do anywhere from 266 to 320 for about 200 to 300 seconds. And your heat press temps and times are on there as well. Now you're going to grab your significant other's favorite Tupperware, and we are going to just go ahead and pour this powder on here. This powder goes a long way, and this is actually TPU powder, so we want to keep this nice and sealed. And all we're going to do is literally move this powder up and down the transfer. You don't need to do it a bunch of times. Once or twice is more than enough. Now be careful not to touch any of the ink because, again, it is wet. We are just coating this. This is basically an adhesive that's going to attach to your material, to your t-shirts, hats, or whatever. So we're going to just go ahead and do this. This is actually my first attempt, and once you get used to it, like right now, this is about how fast you can do it. Just go ahead and do that. This is a small container. A lot of people just use a big Tupperware container, and just shake off your excess, and you are done with the coating on the back. And it should just look like this. The powder is all adhered to the ink, and there should be no powder on the other parts of the transfer at all. Now what's really good about this printer is doing batching. I imported my logo. Now I'm going to just click on the batching. I'm going to do 3 rows by 2, and then I'm going to just click OK. And look, it automatically laid out my logo, and it's now in 6. Hit rip, and it flips the image like normal. And what's nice about the RIP software is once you hit print, you'll see that you have a queue of jobs in here. So you can always go back here and just click reprint if you so choose. Now these were about 3 inches in width, and I did 6 of them. And they came out in about 6.5 minutes. Now we need to bake our transfers. And this is the oven that comes with your K8 printer. And it has that nice, awesome, angry panda on the top. And you have your heat plate, and you have your temp on the top while you have your timer on the bottom. That way you could set both. Mine is in Fahrenheit here. And then you have your little, mover thing for once your project is done baking. Now I should have lowered this shelf because placing this in there is a little complicated for me because I can't lift the lid up all the way. So I gotta gingerly just push this in here without burning my finger. Yep, there we go. And now we're going to go ahead and set our time. And what's nice about this, it has a filter because it does produce some smoke and exhaust. So you do not see any smoke at all. And then once it's done, it's going to beep, and you take your little suction device here, and you're going to just basically pull it off the side of the plate. And it's that easy. So within 300 seconds, you have your baked transfer, and now you could actually hold on to it. And you'll see that all this TPU is now melted to the ink, and you're going to be ready to press. It is a very simple process. Now all that's left is to actually press the t-shirts. I actually have mine set to 300, but it does bounce around a little bit, and time is 30 seconds. But it is kind of wrinkly, so what we're going to do is we're going to press the t-shirt for about 10 seconds just to get the wrinkles out. You want to do that, and then if you see any lint, you're going to want to use a lint roller to get that off as well. Now I'm going to press this button. It's been about 10 seconds, and you'll see that the wrinkles are out. And this is the extent of my ironing abilities. But now we're going to put my smaller logo on the front of the t-shirt just to the left. Well, to the left as you're wearing it. Now I'm going to use a Teflon sheet. Some people use maybe butcher paper or something, but found a Teflon sheet to be pretty nice. And now I'm going to press it for 30 seconds. Now my daughter does own a crafting business, and I did ask for her hay press, but she was unavailable, so I did find this one on Facebook Marketplace for a very good deal. So good deals all around. You just need to know where to look. And 30 seconds are up, and it automatically lifts. And we're going to go ahead and remove our Teflon sheet here, and we're going to go to an immediate hot pull for this. And simply pull it nice and slow. You don't want to do it quickly here. And you can see our image transferred really nicely onto the fabric. So let's go ahead and remove it. It's still nice and toasty, so be careful. And this press uses a couple of heating pads underneath to keep it nice and firmly pressed. Now let's take a look. Yep, looks really nice. Now, if you're going to blow up an image, you may want to make sure it's like a PDF or something and not just an image, because sometimes when you blow up the image, it could get distorted. And you'll see this actually on my next press. I printed one of my logos bigger, and I went ahead and got rid of the wrinkles here on the back, and this is the bigger image. Again, this is a 8-inch basically square, so this printer is pretty good at size for printing a bigger logo. You don't need something huge and gigantic for your logo to fill up like the whole back of a shirt. And again, we're going to press this for 30 seconds. With different types of materials, you may need to press it longer or shorter. I definitely suggest doing some testing, and that way you can get the correct settings that's good for you. And it's been 30 seconds, so now we're going to remove our Teflon sheet, and we could again do a hot pull on this. And just do it really slowly, and you can see how nice this came out. And from a distance, it looks great. But I did make a mistake on here. Like I mentioned, I blew up an image that was a picture instead of a PDF, and it is a little bit on the blurry side, and that is my fault. But you can still see the image is very crisp and clean. So yes, you can have a nice size logo on the back and then a smaller one on the front to show off branding. And I think it's a good size printer to start out with. And here's a black shirt with a lot of lint on it. Like I mentioned before, if you see lint, just use a lint roller to get rid of any lint that's on there, because you do not want that to be in between your transfer and the fabric. And you just want to get into the habit of pressing the shirt or material ahead of time to get rid of any wrinkles. It's just a good habit to have. Once we've gotten rid of the wrinkles, now we can go ahead and place our logo on here. And I'm going to center it the best I can. There are stencils that you could buy to center your images on your shirts. And I'm just doing an eyeball because I don't have that. My daughter does, because she does this for a living. And I'm going to go ahead and put my Teflon sheet on it, and we're going to press this again for 30 seconds. And then once it's done, we're going to check it. I'm not fully confident with this one because it was laid one direction, and I should have laid it widthwise because it's definitely a larger surface area. And I'm going to wait for this to cool down because I got all these little pieces on here, and it pulled nicely. So if you have any like little pieces like you see on the mud on the bottom, you want to most likely do a cold pull, and that way your image doesn't come up as well. And I chose a black shirt for this because I figured the image would stand out a lot nicer. And here we go, Sam Prentice Whiffy Waste. I think it's really good here for this type of printer because we got 8-inch width and about 11 inches vertically on here. Yep, came out really nice. So if you're looking to do t-shirts or something, this printer is definitely capable of doing it. All the images are nice and vibrant, and they pressed really, really nicely. You just need to learn about cold pulls and hot pulls. If you're not sure, just wait for the material to cool down and just pull it that way. Now you do have to maintain this printer, and first off, let's talk about storage of your ink. Your ink should be stored between 59 and 95 degrees Fahrenheit to ensure optimal performance of the ink. The Procolored K8 comes with an assortment of spare parts. Like for instance, we have some spare ribbon cables and looks like ink cartridges, as well as a spare board. And we also have this spare toolbox, and there's a lot of stuff in this as well. So if we go into the first layer here, we will see that we got more of the ink cartridges, replacements, a screwdriver, and we also have a motor. That motor, I believe, is for your white ink circulation, spare cutting wheel. Then we go underneath here, and we have a maintenance kit for prolonged storage, where you could use this to go ahead and store your printer for long term. All this instructions are on the USB flash drive on how to do this. Then in the cleaning box, we have our cotton swabs, our syringes, and on the next layer down below, we have our funnels and then a spare motherboard. You get an abundance of spare parts and maintenance tools to keep this printer in optimal performance. Now let's talk about where you can purchase this. Right now, the Procolored K8 is available on Kickstarter for pre-order. And you also have the option for the K13. Basically, the K13 is a wider width printer. So you have two options. You have the K8 for $13.99 and the K13 for $27.99. It goes and mentions everything that I covered here basically in the video plus more. So if you are interested, the link down below will be for the Kickstarter. So I hope you gained a lot of information from watching this video. So I thank you once again for tuning into Tripod's Garage. Please have a wonderful day, evening, or weekend, or whenever you decide to watch this video. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you the next time on Tripod's Garage. Wow, I have to say, this crate is pretty cool. I mean, I've received crates in the past, and this was received by DHL, and it's like not even a scratch on it. It has these security zip ties on here. That way no one opens them. If they're open, you know. And these latches are just so cool. And I've never received a crate like this. I've received a lot of crates before. Nice grab handles that are spring-loaded. What should I do with this? Should I make it into something? Let me know in the comments below.